Hello everyone and welcome back to Trekyards. He is Commander Cocking.
He's got a Foley. Welcome, welcome.
Yes, and today we're talking about uniforms.
Yes, with a big question mark in them.
Not literally, but yes.
Well, we aren't the Riddler. It isn't the Riddler's costume.
Yeah, we're looking at the Moral Star Part 2 of Prodigy. And at the end we got a uniform reveal for Admiral Janeway. We're going to talk about it today and compare it and do things that Trekyards likes to do.
That is what we're here for. We're going to obviously compare it to multiple different facets, but first just the sort of three best views of the standard uniform. We have the Admiral version on the right, which has more gold pleating, so pinch result there. The more standard version in the middle, and a slightly more long shot of the Ensign, who you can see has fingerless gloves and big-ass boots. So look at the thing totally out of context first. We'll go into context later, but just what are your thoughts on how it looks on screen in its sort of three iterations here?
They look really nice. This is a cool looking uniform. Not a big fan of the big red boots, but hey, the gloves I don't mind. The gloves are fine. Other than that, I think they look really sharp. They look very nice. Much better than definitely the kids from the last episode. And this episode. It looks good. I like it. I'm impressed.
Yeah, me too. That they definitely scream not Voyager Starfleet, if that makes sense, because they're not Picard, and Picard is a sort of iteration of Voyager. This is not that version. This is an iteration progression from, and kind of feels it. Yeah, the gloves are really odd, but given the fact that the other two don't have them, maybe she's a Trill with a skin condition, so has to have them. I mean, I don't see gloves being passed down in uniform in any situation except outside in winter. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she's got some skin thing, and the boots are, again, maybe just her legs get really cold and they give a special dispensation. I can't imagine that's really the boots. It seems a bit silly to me.
Maybe she's a part of a special religious sect on Trill. Yeah.
It's pretty clear those uniform is three different colours here. A slightly more purpley red, a darker, like wine red. I will chalk that up to lighting, though, in the scene. I will not go on a limb and say they have three different reds in the same scene.
No, I think they're all the same. It's just, like you said, lighting. Or, Janeway's has just been washed a bunch more, and it's just... the colors kind of
faded,
matured a bit.
Yeah. One thing I note about this from previous review when we looked at the evil Janeway costume is that I noted that the shoulder segments felt they went really far down and very curved. This to me feels like almost like that. So they've kind of taken inspiration from their own uniform a little bit. Has that kind of really deep shoulder vibe that the other uniforms are slightly higher up, more pointed, which I really do quite like actually, giving them a really like bold, big shoulder feel, which I think is quite needed.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it when we saw it on the other uniform. But honestly, on this one, just being a nice V, a very pointy V, is also nice. But this one I'm liking. I'm digging the way that looks, for sure. I'm not complaining at all.
Well, I'm realising, and we are going to talk about the comm badge in a separate video, the comm badge is really high up. It's way more like the newest Picard uniform, which is like, the lower decks uniform, it's actually like on the line. Comm badges are lower than that, so I'm kind of confused why they put theirs on the line. It feels messy to me, as if an OCD person said, right, it's got to touch that line.
Yeah, it looks good on Janeway, honestly. The Andorian, though, it could stand to go down and towards the center just a tad.
It's hard to see how much pleating there is. Janeway's got big, bold gold, but the Ensign, who's the Trill, has a big, relatively bold silver. The Andorian, you can't tell really based on how far away he is. Do we assume they do actually have some sort of pleating as standard? Kind of give that Wrath Khan-esque-ness?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The Andorians just looks thinner for some reason. I don't know why. Now, the one thing I noticed, which would have been cool, they all have a yellow or a gold stripe on the sleeves. It'd be cool if that was a rank, but it's not because the Ensign and the Commander have the same one. It'd be cool if there was like 3 on the Commanders. Yeah, that's one small change I would make just to kind of make it feel a little bit poppier.
Well, speaking of change, though, go to the next picture. We also got an alternate uniform jacket thingy which I want to address, even though really far away.
Saw that and thought immediately of Scotty and his like engineering vest, and I think that's the case. This Tellarite's an engineer or something.
Well, he's in blue,
or it's a specialist like Tellarite uniform or something. But I think it looks good, and it definitely reminded me of Scotty instantly. So
yeah, I take it more as it's the equivalent of Dr. McCoy's custom unique top. Or Beverly has a long jacket. He just has his own custom medical version. I'm okay with that. Head doctor, whatever. Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay, so the next picture is there's two ways to look at this uniform. There's either because of the alternate universe comm badges, it's an alternate universe design uniform, following on from All Good Things, etc. So if we were to present it like this is visually, do you think there's a nice logic of evolution here, presenting all these three? If it's also alternate reality and all four, so it came from this point in the timeline, does that kind of flow as a reality progression?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, the line on Beverly's is very, very similar curve, and even where the comm badge is placed close to the line is very similar to the Andorian. All Good Things, and I forget that episode.
Visitor,
majority, but
lots, like 4 episodes.
Yeah, this is a good progression. I think I just hate the All Good Things uniform on Beverly. It just looks so lazy.
I'm fine with it. But I think if this is one version, then I can imagine them going from the grey back to the colour, then to the full colour progression of we want to be more bright and positive. But that's not the eras they represent, although obviously this JMA might have come from X, who knows where. Now the next picture, I noticed right at the end of my prep today, if you were to colour the All Good Things uniform,
damn,
exactly on the line that it has.
Yeah, except the better collar in Prodigy, no pleats in Endgame, so the Prodigy one looks better. But yeah, wow.
I mean, I think it's fair to say they just took the All Good Things uniform and made it more one step backwards, because it was that easy to change. All the placements are about, although the combat placements correct on the Admiral Janeway, or the future Admiral Janeway. But it is, the collar, obviously, which links more to the First Contact and the other uniforms at the time. But I mean, clearly, they said, hey, let's use the canon of the All Good Things uniform if we're going to use the badge, and do our own younger version. Because how would you get to the All Good Things version? Who on earth knows? Let's make a transitional step. Fantastic. Yay. I can see the logic, and then obviously add a few more other things to it. The next picture, though, is now that was with the alternate reality slant. If we take the Janeway sequence at the end of season 1 half as being this is present day them, which could it be either, we really don't know at this point. That would be the uniform progression in the canon of the standard uniforms. We'll look at Lower Decks a little bit later, but this is just the standard main uniform progression, because clearly an Admiral is going to be on a high-end ship, blah blah blah. So
I think Starfleet changes its uniforms way too often. It doesn't fit the trend, honestly. It's bucking the trend by having the shirt be the color and not black, because everything else is black. And it's like, for a second, they're like, oh, should we do the shirts being the full color? Yeah, let's try that again. Because go back to like TNG style, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't fit in my mind. But, if it's an alternate reality, we have that caveat.
Yeah, that's the great get out of jail free card. If it's from a aborted reality, then that's that lineage. This lineage, it's a little bit hard to see. What if the shoulders had been the grey nemesis? As if they said, we'll do both? Would that have worked? Don't think it would have. But it might have.
I'm not sure how a gray would look with that. I don't think that would look as good. I do like the black for sure, but I mean, if it was gray, it would fall more in line with this lineup as just a progression.
We'd like to think that the Dominion War First Contact uniform is a reflection of we're in a dark time, war, darkness, blah blah blah. As soon as you get out of that, you symbolically make everyone wear, because people lost all of their, the most of their friends they ever lost in the history of their career in these uniforms. The Starfleet said, let's make a new point and start a new uniform trend. Go from now. Now is a good time. So if this is that one, then it certainly harkens. I mean, if that's the idea, then TNG was the pinnacle of exploration of the eras, both the one-piece jumpsuit and the two-piece. So using that as a baseline while just holding over some elements from the Voyager one, etc., I can see some logic. Just a bit more stylizedness. But the fact it links to All Good Things so much, and Endgame feels like it can't be a design lineage coincidence, But the next picture, if we add the Lower Decks one into the thing, then the whole thing skews. Because the Lower Decks one is a low end, worker bee of the fleet. But oh no, it's a curveball.
Well, this makes us feel much more in line with what's going on. Literally, I mean, they got the Wrath of Khan style separation there with the line, which looks really sharp, even on the Lower Decks ones, and then carrying that over. This works for me, yeah.
I mean, obviously, the transition from First Contact to Lower Decks doesn't really make much sense, but there is no transition because they're both at the same time, so it's an alternate.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, does that imply to us that this Admiral Janeway costume is also a lower-end ship, that this isn't the standard? Because if it's a evolution, or even maybe it's a middle value, maybe, the low end is the Lower Decks with that sort of fabric, that sort of look. This is a more standard iteration, more of a TNG classic, and then you have the high-end officers wearing the First Contact still, maybe, because they're not far off in terms of timeline.
I don't want to put Janeway on a ship that's just like, you know what I mean? Like, you think she would command more. But that being said, I mean, if this is Chakotay's crew that's with her, if they were on the Protostar, they had the specialist uniforms on that. Maybe these are the specialist uniforms updated. And why didn't Chakotay get back with them? Like, there's a story there, but this is apparently the crew that is Chakotay's, so...
Yeah, not knowing when and where these guys come from the timeline really skews this metric. If you add Lower Decks into the pot, it definitely helps, but makes it even more confusing. The next few, though, now this one's interesting because I wanted to compare to the Admiral variants, because instantly when I saw this uniform, I thought of previous Admiral versions which share many aspects, or at least what I saw visually, more so than standard uniform. But obviously those are the same uniforms the crew as the Admiral, she just has more gold pleating. But maybe it's a formal crew and so they all have sort of a semi-dress uniform, I don't know. But here's a little comparison of Admiral. Obviously I've skipped some ones that don't compare well. I've just sort of cherry-picked some good ones, but here's a sort of lineup of this.
Again, the carrying over that gold stripe down the front is great because, as you can see, there's on quite a few of them. It definitely looks better than the 2404. I gotta say, 2375. I mean, we're in a war. It is the Nemesis style, so it's more militaristic, it seems. But yeah, this fits in nicely as well. The similarities between it and the 2358 and stuff is really quite striking, actually.
Also shows that, they played with having the Wrath of Khan-esque lines in all the other variants of uniform, never the standard. And so this one, just like Lower Decks, just like Endgame, plays with those lines, whereas other uniforms just kind of stay more standard. And the next picture is the last picture, just kind of give us that overall feel again of... I do like them, though. I think they look nice. They look like a TNG fabric, though, to me. So I'd want a higher quality version. They're not the same, like, reflective Voyager, it feels to me. So, if I was to get... Because this I'm fine to get a replica of. This is nice enough.
Yeah, this is one that I would like, too.
But I feel like, you got to get certain things right. Like, is the silver pleating a line of white, or is it actually, the actual Admiral-y material? There's other questions that we need answers to, Stu, how you translate this to real. But I do like it.
The other thing I like to mention real quick is the fact that I like the rank pips up on the collar. I know Janeway's is different because she's an Admiral, but I'm glad they didn't put them all there, like the Picard era, just because it just looks so much better on the collar. So
yeah, and I'm still hoping maybe they change it for Picard season 2 or 3. Who knows? It looks, like I said, it loses for me some of that formalness of the Voyager, because the way it's a jumpsuit, it's very clean lines. This is clearly it needs to be ironed. It doesn't have that sleekness, but it gives that TNG's more casual, more chill, more, a day in the life uniform rather than I'm trying to look super smart. It gives off a different vibe to me, which I like. We like the TNG. This is a nice, like if this was an evolution from the TNG, it'd be like, oh, okay. Which, if they come from alternate reality, maybe it did just go from TNG to them. Who knows? That would fit as well. Questions! And we've not given you answers maybe, but we've given you things to look at.
And think about. And comment on. So comment down below what you think about the uniform and our discussion here. If you have anything else you'd like to add, please add it down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Join us for our lives where you can take part in these discussions in real time. And support us any way you can. Click the notification bell icon so you don't miss those chats.
And speaking of that support, then you can join us for those lives and super chat. Anything you want to say from something about the episode, or a random question, or a random comment, anything you want, it helps the channel immensely. Or joining the channel, which is a monthly thing. It's like Patreon, but not. Or Patreon, which is Patreon. Both are monthly, both are helpful, and $5 on each are super amazingly helpful. Or one-time donation at trekyards@hotmail.com. That is the PayPal. That goes for show costs and buy a new kit, or even graphics, as we've seen some of our really cool graphics over the course of the last little while. And just, buying a shirt or etc. from the links down below. They all help. And we've taken advance for any of them.
So until next time, guys, I am Captain Foley.
I am Conor Congs. Bye, guys.
We'll see you guys later.